friends. Hello from my parents' backyard here in Illinois. My goodness. Hello, friends. Today I'm really excited, literally excited to interview my good friend, somebody who's always been there for me, has helped me through a lot, is a pioneer in functional medicine. You guys are probably guessing who it is. Dun dun dun, Dr. Frank Lipman, a superstar to anyone interested in taking good care of themselves and living well. And Frank is also a prolific best-selling author, superstar in delivering the messages and words to us to democratize well-being, which something I'm so grateful for as well, as wellness becomes more and more accessible to literally everyone. So Dr. Frank, I guess we can call him Frank, has a new book out now called Better Sleep, Better You. And with all the sleep information that's kind of out there, possibly stressing ourselves out even more, Frank has a beautiful talent and grace about cutting through, delivering the science that's available, and also his own recommendations from all of his decades of experience. And what I love about this book, Better Sleep, Better You, and I'm going to give away a copy, I'm going to do a giveaway for May, and all of this, but you should go and buy Frank's book if you can. Buy it for friends and family that have any interest in sleeping better, any interest in well-being in general, because Frank is a pioneer. He is the pioneer of functional medicine. Frank doesn't prescribe kind of one size fits all, which is very beautiful and very useful, I think, for all of us. So I'm really excited to hear what Frank has to say for all of us today. And I just wanted to come on a little bit early and just brag about him. So I met Frank over a decade ago in New York, and I think he wandered into the studio at some point, and I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We have a superstar. In the world of music, there's, Michael Jackson and Elvis and Simone. In the world of wellness, there's Frank Lipman, there's Deepak, there's Mark Hyman, there's my friend Robin Berzin, who's an up-and-coming functional wellness star. We have our people too. So if you're interested in being well, literally Frank created the ability for us to be well in a more accessible way. So, Frank so kindly carried me along and gave me advice over the years, and still does so much, and has been such a good friend and mentor to me as well. So here he is. Just wanted to brag a little bit before bringing him on, and we're going to find out all about better sleep here in a moment. So on the good Dr. Frank. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. I can't. Is it connecting?
Yeah,
There
I
we go.
see you now. Okay, great. Amazing. Oh my gosh. So, another book. You're so prolific. You must be well, because you produce a lot of wellness for us. So I think there's a secret there for a lot of folks in the wellness biz as well. So, maybe before I ask you about sleep, how do you have any tips on just in general being well so you can be productive, because you are a huge obvious example of that.
Well, when you love what you do, I like to. I'm basically a preacher. I like to spread the word. So one of the ways I do it is to write books, try to take information that I've learned from seeing patients or read in the research and make it simple and usable for people and put it out there. So that's my role. Your role is as a yoga teacher, turning people on to yoga meditation. This is my role.
Oh, well, thank you for being your role, because you're helping all of us, millions of people, be well. So tell us all about sleep. And what I love about reading your book so far is it's not, sort of dogmatic. You're not saying you have to do this, everybody needs to do that. So can you, give us a little insight to where we need to start to sleep better?
Well, I think the important thing to know is there are a lot of little changes you can make that can have big effects on your sleep. It's important to realize sleep is a rhythm. And when you're not sleeping properly, it's usually because something else is off in your life.
Mm.
So you've got to look at many factors: what you're eating, your gut, your relationships, how stressed you are, your sleep environment. Um, there are many, many factors, but primarily it's important to realize that sleep is your primary rhythm. There's day and night, and there's being awake and going to sleep. So when your other rhythms are off, your other body rhythms, or you're not in sync with what's going on in nature, or if you're going to sleep at 2 o'clock one evening and at 8 o'clock the next evening, or trying to catch up on sleep, that's not good. Your body wants to be in rhythm. It likes irregularities. So those are some of the little things to think about.
Oh my gosh, I love it because it's so, simple what you're saying, but it's not easy. I think, so many of us, even in the wellness area, want to take a pill to go to sleep, kind of thing. And if the sleep is fixed, then everything else is fixed. But really what you're saying is, we all need to look at what we're doing during the day, and how does one start to self reflect if that's not in your practice at all? How do you know if your food is off or if your relationship is off, or how do you kind of monitor your own self in this way?
Right. So I think the first thing to note is, if you're not sleeping well, it's like it's your oil light going on. It's your body's telling you something is off. And I have a great questionnaire in the book where I help people determine what sleep type are you, or what lack of sleep type are you. Is it an environmental thing? Is it a rhythm thing? Is it a hormonal thing? Is it a food thing? So, I try to help people. Is it stress? I try to help people sort of target where their weaknesses are, and then you go accordingly. So, this is just a reason to buy the book, folks. You can see where your weaknesses are, and then, you try to adjust your life accordingly. So if it's something in your environment, is there light coming into your bedroom? Are you staying up late watching TV or on your computer? Are you looking at your telephone at night? Things like that. Or is it a rhythm thing? Is it because you're not getting enough natural light during the day and too much artificial light at night? So and then you always have to look at your diet and what's going on in your gut, because your gut has a rhythm, and your microbiome has a rhythm. Your microbiome is making tons of these neurotransmitters which affect your sleep. So there's just a lot of factors you need to look at. It's not a simple thing. If you're not sleeping, here's some melatonin, or this food is going to make you sleep, or removing this food is going to make you sleep. It's many factors that usually work together, but the factors aren't that difficult to change. So you just got to look to see what are the 10, 20, 30 factors that may be affecting your sleep, and adjust accordingly. For some people, it may be getting outside first thing in the morning and getting some natural light, because that can help your body's rhythm. So, it's not necessarily an easy fix, but once you have the information, it actually can be an easy fix.
Oh, it's so good. And I know it's not sort of one size fits all with food. And, I feel like you invented in this way how to deal with our gut health, and popularized it so we can, take ownership a little bit more. But my friend Frederica is asking in the comments, are there any foods, for sleep? But I guess maybe that question is really about what should we be eating, or what should we not be eating for gut health?
Right. So, a couple of issues. So I wouldn't say there's a particular food to help you sleep, but what I would say is the longer time you have between your dinner and going to sleep is really helpful, because you don't want your digestion to be working while you're going to sleep. You want that to sort of have, your digestion to sort of almost be finished to a large extent, and your body can work on sleep. So that's the first thing, sort of eating as early as possible. I know we all think of, I'm an old person, but now I eat early, not necessarily. I've always like eating early, because the earlier I eat, and if I have at least 3 or 4 hours between my meal and going to sleep, it's quite helpful. But the foods to avoid would be the sugars and the starchy foods and alcohol, obviously. Those would be the foods that I'd avoid at bedtime. So most people have a drink. Most people have a dessert at dinner, probably not the best things. And then most important is how your gut and your microbiome is actually metabolizing these foods. So it may not be the food per se, but it often is how that food is metabolized by your gut. Because your gut, those critters, those bugs in your gut, will take that food and help you with digestion, and then release metabolites from that food, and those metabolites can affect how you sleep. So for instance, most serotonin is made in your gut. Serotonin can help you with sleep. So all those neurotransmitters that affect your sleep, the dopamine, the serotonin, are going to be made by your gut bacteria as well. So the health of your gut is extremely, extremely important with sleep. And how I realized that is, for the last 15, 20, no more, Jesus, more, probably 25, 30 years, I've been doing cleanses where I clean out the gut. And I first noticed this many, many years ago, but now there's actually research showing that this is true. I used to notice that when I put people on a cleanse and we started cleaning out their gut, they used to come and say not only did they lose weight and their gut was feeling better, but they were sleeping better. And at that stage we'd say, oh, that's interesting, but now we know why.
Wow, that's really interesting. Somebody's asking about melatonin, and I think we all know the answer, not to rely on it, but what are your feelings on that if things just aren't going so well, and how, do you reach for the melatonin at all to reset things, or just try to refix everything else?
Right. So melatonin is helpful for people who have a rhythm problem, as opposed to if the problem is from the gut or the environment. So I'm not against melatonin at all. And we'll talk about dosage in a minute. But melatonin in particular works for people who have a rhythm problem. That's why it's good for jet lag, for instance. When you're traveling, overseas, or there's a 3, 5, 6 hour time difference. It's good to take melatonin where you're going at the nighttime, so your body gets back into the rhythm. So you get into the rhythm of where it's nighttime there. So melatonin works particularly well if you have a rhythm problem, and not that well if you don't have a rhythm problem. So it depends where your sleep issues are. Now, when you do take melatonin for sleep, you only need a small dose. 0.5 of a milligram is probably more than enough to sleep if you've got a rhythm problem. A lot of people take 3 milligrams, 5 milligrams. That's not necessary if you want to use melatonin. If you want melatonin for immune boosting, then you can start talking about 5, 10 milligrams. But to help you sleep, 0.5 milligram is more than enough.
Okay, I think this is probably along the same lines, but someone else is asking about magnesium at night as well.
Yeah, so magnesium, I'm a huge, huge fan of magnesium, partly because most people's magnesium levels are lower. Also, magnesium, you tend to have lower magnesium levels when you're stressed out. So magnesium tends to be a really helpful nutrient for sleep. In particular for people who are stressed out. So I'm a huge fan of magnesium. It calms down your nervous system. It can help you sleep. It has so many functions in the body. So that's usually my first go-to for sleep issues. If someone wants to take something at night, would be magnesium. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I know everybody also knows the answer to this, but hearing it from you, the superstar doctor, is going to just hopefully make some changes. But when should we be putting down the phone and the laptop and the TV at night, and how do we kind of make a change if we need to make a change there?
Well, I usually recommend at least an hour, preferably a good 2 hours if you can. I mean, sometimes that's not realistic, but that's what I would recommend. because it's not only the light of the computer, the particular blue light and the telephone, but it's also the radiation that can affect one's sleep. I know when I'm on the computer too late at night, it affects my sleep. I wear an Oura ring where I measure my sleep. So I monitor what affects my sleep, and there's no question that I notice I don't sleep as deeply, or I don't have as much deep sleep when I'm on the computer too late. So I do think getting off an hour at least, preferably 2 hours before you go to sleep, is a good idea.
What's the ring you talked about? I think Jason has one of those too. Should we all have this ring? It looks cool.
Well, I don't know. It's called an Oura, an Oura ring. I mean, yeah, if you're someone who doesn't get obsessed about measuring things, then it's all right. I mean, I find it can be helpful. It can be a problem for some people. They get too obsessed about measuring. It's one of those biohacking things that works for some people and is a problem for other people, but it can be helpful. I mean, I think most people know when they sleep well. I mean, if you can just tune into yourself, you don't really need the ring. But I personally find it helpful to see the pattern. For instance, for me, when I fast and I eat earlier and I have a smaller dinner, I've noticed that I sleep better. When I've drunk enough fluid and I'm not as dehydrated, stupid things I've noticed that help me sleep better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Somebody's asking another question that I think we all know the answer to, but again, hearing it from you would be empowering. Should we get the television out of the bedroom, or is it okay to watch a little bit of a science movie or something and then wind down? What do we do?
The standard answer to that is take the TV out of the bedroom. I don't think that's realistic for most people. I mean, let's just get real. I have the TV in my bedroom. I try to watch it late at night. I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think going to sleep stressed out with angry thoughts, being worried, having your mind racing is not a good idea. And if TV is going to help you or make you do that, that's a problem. If you're going to watch something that's calming and going to sort of not make you think about things or not upset you, then it's probably not such a bit. That's probably not top of the list of things that are going to affect your sleep.
Cool. I think that's awesome to know.
What's my take on coffee? I see someone. I don't usually look at it, but I'm seeing.
Yeah. No, thanks.
So coffee is interesting. I want to answer this because coffee is, how you metabolize coffee is actually a genetic thing. Some people are fast metabolizers. Some people are slow metabolizers. So I, for instance, am a slow metabolizer. If I drink coffee in the afternoon, it can keep me up. So it all depends on how quickly you metabolize coffee. I'm not against coffee, but some people, even if they drink 2 cups in the morning, can affect their sleep if they're very slow metabolizers. So you need to know how quickly you metabolize coffee. You should know if there's actually genetic testing that can tell that, can help with that. But as a general rule, coffee drunk in the morning, and unless you are very slow metabolizers, is not a problem. And some people can drink coffee at night, and if they're fast metabolizers, it's not a problem for them either.
Oh, it's cool. I think it's so great how, we were so used to hearing do this, not this, and now you're saying none of that is true. It depends on how you metabolize everything. I think that's just so fascinating.
I think there's some generic rules for sleep, like try get some bright light in the morning. Try not to sit under artificial lights all day. Your body needs to somehow get onto some type of rhythm, some type of schedule. So you need, the standard, tips of trying to go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day, very important. Trying to get some early light first thing in the morning, important. Try to have a dark room, important. But when it comes to food and when it comes to other factors, I think a lot of it is determined, everyone's a little bit different. And that's sort of why I mean, I think that's the case with most problems in medicine. And that's why I usually have questionnaires, or we usually try personalize um, uh, regimes or personalized tips according to where people are at and how, what their individual genetics are.
So definitely get the book, everyone, and make sure you fill out that questionnaire, because I think that'll get us closer to what we all need to do. And maybe one more question, if that's okay. Another one from Frederic. I think this was more about foods you would recommend during the day, not just for sleep, but for general well-being, kind of, if there are some general things that you really think are great for most people.
Sure. So, I think eating a lot of green leafy vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, are generally good for your health and really good for your microbiome. They have a lot of the prebiotics, the fiber that your body doesn't digest. And those, that fiber that you don't digest actually feeds the good bacteria. So I think eating a lot of these non-starchy vegetables is what you need to fill your plate with. And then after that, I'm a big proponent generally of a low carb diet. So if you want to add a bit of grass-fed meat or animal protein, as long as it's well sourced, I'm not against that. So it all depends on your philosophy on life, on the world, and eating. That's up to you. But I avoid, for the most part, sugars, starchy foods, and even personally, I don't eat too many grains. For some people, grains work fine. So basically, fill your plate with non-starchy vegetables, and then add, some other protein. Whether it's with beans or with well-sourced animal protein. It depends on your philosophy. But the biggest thing to me is lots and lots of non-starchy vegetables and as little sugar and starchy foods as possible.
Oh, it's so good. All right. I know you're busy and you have so many things, but just one more question. If somebody, pulled your jacket on the street and says, Dr. Frank Lipman, it's you. Tell me one thing that I could do to sleep better. What would you say to this, person who really needs your help?
Well, I don't think there's one thing. I think it's, it's all these things we've been talking about. But what I will say that I seem to be seeing extremely helpful, which is a supplement so people don't have to make serious changes, is CBD, or actually CBN. There's certain types of strains of CBD, and sometimes even with some THC in. But, there's some certain strains of CBD that seem to work particularly well. I know, I recommend Alchemist Kitchen have a sleep CBD. I love Alchemist Kitchen. It's in New York City, but you can get stuff online there. The guy, Lou, who started, it's very reliable. And they have a sleep CBD. It's, if you Google Alchemist Kitchen and put in CBD sleep, it'll come up. And that I've found, in fact, of all the things that I've recommended, I think the lifestyle stuff is really important. But as a supplement, although it's not cheap, that seems to be quite helpful for a lot of people. So that would be my answer.
Oh, very, very cool. But everybody go get the book, Better Sleep, Better You, and we'll all feel better by listening to your advice and making these changes. And thanks so much, Dr. Frank. It's always amazing to talk to you.
Thanks, really Sarah, and it's always lovely to talk to you as well.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.